The most important conclusion I derive from this story is to subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories in the future. Let me know what you thought about the author in the comments. Was his revenge too weak or too brutal? I never thought something like this would happen to me. My life had always been pretty average. A decent job, a good group of friends, and a loving fiancé. But then everything changed. Aside from my relationship with Rachel, I had a fulfilling life. I had a group of close friends that I had known since childhood, and we would often go out for drinks or have movie nights at someone's house. We shared a lot of memories, from playing hide and seek in the park as kids to celebrating each other's achievements as adults. In terms of my career, I have always been interested in technology and software development. I studied computer science in college, and after graduation, I landed a job at a tech company that specialized in developing innovative software applications. It was a challenging job, but also very rewarding, and I was making a real difference in the world. Overall, I was happy with my life and felt like everything was falling into place. Each new day I have inflicted in me a sense of contentment, but little did I know that everything was about to come crashing down around me. It was a beautiful summer day when Rachel and I met with our wedding planner to finalize the details of our big day. The sun was shining and a gentle breeze blew through the trees, rustling the leaves and carrying the scent of blooming flowers. Rachel looked stunning as always. Her long dark hair cascaded down her back in loose waves, and her blue eyes sparkled with excitement. She wore a simple white sundress that hugged her curves in all the right places and a pair of strappy sandals that showed off her perfectly manicured toes. As we walked into the planner's office, I felt a sense of pride and joy wash over me. Rachel and I had been together for 5 years, and I knew without a doubt that she was the woman I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. The wedding planning process had been stressful at times, but it had also been a labor of love. We had poured our hearts and souls into every detail, from the flowers to the food to the music. And now, with just a few months to go until the big day, it was all coming together. As we sat down with our planner, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the life we had built together. Rachel was my best friend, my soulmate, and my partner in every sense of the word. And I knew that our wedding day would be the perfect celebration of our love and commitment to each other. As we went through the details of the wedding, I couldn't help but marvel at Rachel's attention to detail. She had always been the more organized and practical one in our relationship, and she had a clear vision of what she wanted our wedding to be like. I, on the other hand, was more of a dreamer. I wanted our wedding to be a magical, romantic affair, something out of a fairy tale. Rachel had to gently rein me in at times, reminding me that we had a budget to stick to and practical considerations to keep in mind. But despite our different approaches, we were both united in our excitement for the big day. We talked animatedly about the decor, the food, and the guest list, and we couldn't wait to see everything come together. As we left the planner's office and stepped out into the sunshine, Rachel turned to me and said, "I can't wait to be your wife." I felt a surge of emotion in my chest, and I pulled her into a tight hug. "I can't wait to be your husband," I said, feeling a sense of happiness and contentment that I had never experienced before. Little did I know that our idyllic summer day would soon be shattered by a shocking revelation, one that would turn our lives upside down and leave me questioning everything I thought I knew about love and trust. In the months leading up to our wedding, Rachel and I spent countless hours poring over the details of our special day. We would sit together, looking through magazines and Pinterest boards, discussing everything from the floral arrangements to the seating chart. Rachel was always so beautiful during those moments of the planning. Her bright smile and sparkling eyes would light up the room, and I couldn't help but feel lucky to have her as my fiancée. She had a way of making everything seem brighter and more hopeful. And, of course, there was my childhood friend and best man, Jack. The three of us had been friends since kindergarten, and he had always been mutual support to us in times of distress and decision-making, and we were thrilled to be planning my wedding together. We laughed and joked as we talked about the different aspects of the big day, from the color scheme to the music selection. It was a time of excitement and anticipation, and I couldn't wait to marry Rachel. She was the love of my life, and I was so grateful to have her by my side. Unbeknownst to me, that our heavenly wedding planning would soon come crashing down around us. It was just a few months before my wedding, and my best man, Jack, had been staying with me for a while. He had been there to help us run the errands and complete the arrangements. He was always the life of the party, and we had some great times together over the years. But as the wedding planning got underway, I noticed something strange happening between Jack and my fiancée, Rachel. Rachel was a wonderful woman, and I loved her with all my heart. But as the wedding approached, she became more and more distant. We stopped having sex altogether, and I could tell that something was bothering her. She started going out with her bridesmaids a lot, saying that they were doing preparations and things like that. I didn't overthink it at the time, but looking back, it should have been a red flag. Then, one day, Rachel came home with a highly red, swollen eye. I was terrified by the sight and wanted to go to the hospital right away. But she said it was nothing, and just that she spilled some liquid into it. I didn't buy it, but I didn't want to push her too hard. After a few days, her eye got even worse. She was in pain, and the eye was poorly presented. Over the next few days, I watched as Rachel's eye got worse. It was bloodshot and swollen, and she kept rubbing it as if trying to relieve the pain. I tried to convince her to see a doctor, but she insisted that it was just a minor irritation and that it would go away on its own. But as the days passed, it became clear that this was more than just a minor irritation. Rachel's eye was almost completely shut, and she could barely see out of it. I knew we had to do something, and I finally took her over to a doctor. The doctor prescribed some eye drops and told us to come back in a few days if there was no improvement. Rachel seemed relieved, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. I made a mental note to keep a close eye on her and to make sure she followed the doctor's orders. But despite the eye drops, Rachel's condition didn't improve. It got worse. She started to complain of headaches and dizziness, and I knew we had to see a different doctor, one who could give us a proper diagnosis. It was during that second visit that we received the shocking news. Rachel had contracted gonorrhea, a sexually transmitted infection that could cause eye infections in rare cases. I explained the situation to the doctor, and he nodded gravely as he listened. He asked Rachel a few questions about her symptoms and examined her eye carefully. The doctor told us that she had lost almost 90% of her vision in that eye, and that the damage was likely irreversible. I was in a state of shock. How could this happen? How could my fiancée contract and stay? And who could have given it to her? And most of all, why would that happen when we both were marrying out of love? As these questions swirled through my mind, I knew that our lives would never be the same. I was flawed. I knew that I had always been faithful to her, so I couldn't understand how she could have gotten it. Rachel was just as shocked as I was, but she quickly realized what had happened. Rachel was devastated when she found out that she had contracted gonorrhea. She couldn't believe that something like this could happen to her. But as she struggled to come to terms with the diagnosis, she knew that she had to tell me the truth. It was a difficult conversation, and Rachel was ashamed and embarrassed. She told me that she had gone out with her bridesmaids a lot, saying that they were doing wedding preparations and things like that. But in reality, she had been going out and having unprotected sex with Jack. Rachel was hesitant at first to confess everything to me. She knew that she had hurt me deeply and was worried about how I would react. But as we sat down to talk, it became clear that she couldn't keep the truth from me any longer. She started by apologizing profusely, tears streaming down her face. She explained that she had been feeling overwhelmed by the wedding planning and had turned to Jack for comfort. She admitted that she had been having unprotected sex with him and that she had contracted gonorrhea as a result. As Rachel spoke, I could see the guilt and shame written all over her face. It was clear that she regretted what she had done and that she was genuinely sorry for the pain that she had caused me. Despite my anger and betrayal, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sympathy for Rachel. She had made a terrible mistake, but was still the same person that I had loved for so many years. It was a confusing and conflicting feeling, and one that I struggled to reconcile as I tried to make sense of everything that had happened. I was heartbroken as I listened to Rachel's confession. It was clear that she was genuinely sorry for what she had done, but the damage had already been done. I knew that I could never trust her again, and that our relationship was irreparably marred. Things could now not be continued the way they were being, and I had to make a decision. I couldn't help but wonder if things could have been different, if only we had been more honest with each other, more open and communicative. But now, it was too late for that. The damage had been done, and there was no going back. In the end, I knew that I could never fully forgive Rachel for what she had done, but I also knew that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life holding on to anger and resentment. So, as Rachel finished her confession, I made the difficult decision to walk away from the relationship and try to start anew. To make matters worse, Rachel had almost lost sight in her left eye due to a gonorrhea cum shot from Jack. I confronted Jack, and he tried to deny it at first. But when I showed him the test results, my negative and Rachel's positive, he broke down and confessed everything. I was so angry that I couldn't even look at him. I felt like I had been betrayed in the worst possible way. I couldn't believe that my childhood friend Jack would do something like this. I had known him since we were in kindergarten, and he had always been one of my closest friends. We had gone through so much together, school, relationships, and now even wedding planning, but all of that collapsed when I found out what he had done. As Jack tried to apologize and explain himself, I felt a surge of anger and betrayal. I couldn't believe that he would put my fiancée's health and our relationship in jeopardy like this. It was one thing to cheat on his wife, but to do something like this to my fiancée was unforgivable. But then, something inside me snapped. I realized that I couldn't just sit back and take this. I had to do something to make sure that everyone knew what kind of person Jack was. So I did the unthinkable. I sent scans of the test results with the wedding invitations. Then, I dropped the photos on the family group chat and to Jack's wife. I know that what I did was extreme, but I felt like I had to take a stand. I couldn't let Jack get away with what he had done to me and Rachel. After that, I blocked everyone and disappeared. I needed some time to sort things out and figure out what I was going to do next. Looking back on everything now, I believe that I could have handled things differently, but in the heat of the moment, I couldn't see any other way out. I had been betrayed by the two people I trusted the most, and I didn't know how to move forward. It's been a few months since everything happened, and I still have yet to talk to Jack or Rachel. I don't know if I ever will. In a way, I've lost a part of myself. The betrayal has left me feeling empty and lost, and I don't know how to fill that void. I thought that I had a good handle on things before all of this happened, but now everything feels uncertain. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever be able to forgive Jack and Rachel. It's hard to imagine a future where we can all be friends again, but at the same time, I don't want to hold on to the anger forever. I don't know how to reconcile my feelings. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm trying to focus on the things that bring me joy and happiness, and I'm slowly but surely rebuilding my life. It's not easy, but I know that it's necessary. It may take time, but I'm willing to do the work.